wow, it's nice to see so many people. Thank you all for being here. It's to die for. That's one of the titles for my talk. The other was Dying to Live. Language is a funny thing, isn't it? You know, we have some very strange sayings, like, why do we say it was to die for? Really? Why to die for and what not to live for? So my talk title might sound a little bit strange at first glance. Dying to live, it's to die for. And yet it's closer to the truth than we realize. In order to live, we must actually die by surrendering this moment and the last moment so that we can receive the next moment, the now moment. In order to find our way forward and to evolve and to discover our new identity, we could ask the question, is death a radical uprooting, or is it a gentle evolution? The answer depends on our level of resistance to life. The irony is that you can exchange these words, life and death, death and life. And that's what we're going to explore this morning. As many of you know, I came to Nevada County in the year 2000 to become the hospice chaplain at Hospice of the Foothills. And I did that job for over 5 years before Reverend Joe asked me to come work here at Unity. And it was truly, what a gift, those 5 years. To work with people, to be in their presence, in their process, and to learn so many things that enriched my life. It truly was a gift. And hopefully I'm sharing that gift with you then in turn because of that experience. And I had, among other things, the privilege of attending many workshops and presentations by national people in the hospice movement, like Naomi Rachel Remen. If you've never heard of her, if you've never read her books, they're just amazing. And one in particular was by Frank Oostaszewski, who in 1987, in the midst of the AIDS epidemic in San Francisco, founded Zen Hospice, which was based on the Buddhist teachings. He's been featured on Bill Moyers, On Our Own Terms, on Oprah. He's been honored by His Holiness the Dalai Lama. And he's the author of the book, The 5 Invitations. How many of you have heard of the 5 Invitations? Okay, so a couple of hands went up. Discovering what death can teach us about living fully. So I have a PowerPoint with the 5 invitations. The first is, oh boy. Yeah, maybe if, yeah, I had an issue with this. I took a photograph of this card that I have, and for some reason I couldn't get it to come up properly. But anyway, don't wait is really the first one. Welcome everything is the second. Bring your whole self to the experience or the bedside. 4, find a place of rest in the middle of things. And 5, cultivate don't know mind. Don't know is most intimate. And so that slide is really this card that one of the nurses who had been to the workshop with us made this card for all of us, so that when we would go out, we would have this card, and you could sit in the car before you went in to visit the patient, and you could kind of center yourself on these 5 little principles. And it was really helpful. I always carried it in my wallet. And one of the other nurses took the card home and she put it up on her bathroom mirror. And her husband came in later and looked at the card and read them. Don't wait. Bring your whole self to the bedside. He got a slightly different idea when he thought it was a romantic overture. But it could be viewed as a romantic overture to life, couldn't it? To have a compassionate journey for ourselves and for others. Because these 5 principles apply to how we live and how we die. There's a hospice adage that says that we die the way we live. So how are you living? That's how you're going to die. So if you want a preview, just look at your life right now and how you've been living it. Do you live in denial of things, avoiding things? Then this is how you will die. Denying that you're dying and avoiding lots of challenging things in the dying process. And it even has relevance for the next stage of our evolution and progression as spiritual beings. We create the next stages of our further evolution by the way we live and the way we die, the way we think, the way we act, the way we believe, and how we exit this life all will have an effect on how we enter the next stage of life after this human experience. I mean, doesn't that make sense? Everything is organic. We don't make these giant leaps. We just kind of organically move to the next stage. Neil Donald Walsh, in one of his books, I can't remember now which one, the men's group studied it long ago, that we experience immediately after our death what we believe we're going to experience. For instance, if you're Catholic, you will go in with the framework that there's a heaven, there's a purgatory, and that there's a hell. And that you will find yourself in one place or the other, perhaps. If you believe that you're going to be greeted by your mother, your father, your grandparents, those you've loved, your spouse who died, that's probably what you're going to experience. Because those are your beliefs, and your beliefs, your mind, your consciousness, creates reality. And I think of it then as a battery. It's like when you kind of cross over, you have this battery that has all of this energy and beliefs and all of that. Except that the battery is no longer now being powered. And so the battery starts to wane. And then we start to let go of those beliefs. And then we can open up to what's actually there. Because now we're in the moment again, and we're not in our mind and in our beliefs. So death is a gradual phasing into the next stage of our evolution and existence for us. Not necessarily this giant leap that we might be afraid of. So if we want to make an easy transition during death, we ought to put our attention very much into the present moment, into the now, and into this life, which brings us back to the 5 invitations or axioms. So 1, don't wait. What are you waiting for? Really, you can miss out on so much of life if you have that attitude of, well, let's wait and see. Let's not do that now. Let's not spend the money. Let's not, If our attitude is all about, we're going to live in the future, tomorrow, we need to realize that tomorrow never comes. That's a reality. Tomorrow never comes. When we get there, it's today. We see this with people who think that life is going to really begin after ... You can put in whatever. And for many people, it's, well, when I retire. And so they put off all of the travel, all of the hobbies, all of the things that they would love to do. But with this approach to life, we know that many people who retire are dead within 6 months of retirement. They never get to do all the things that they have held back on doing. Don't wait, because it's a projection into the future. And as Ram Dass says, be here now and live in the present. Enjoy it fully now. Live your life and live your dying. That was one of the incredible things that I saw and that I learned from hospice patients, from those who were living their dying. they weren't shrunken up and pulling up the covers and the curtains drawn and just waiting for death. They were out there doing stuff and going for last meals and going for last. And if they died on the journey, who cares? They did it, with vim and vigor and gusto. So don't wait. Live now, not in the future. Second axiom is welcome everything, and it's kind of similar, and push nothing away. And this is a little more challenging for us, isn't it, for many of us? We tend to approach life with a very strong filter which allows and approves of certain things and certain experiences, and has very clear ideas about what, well, I don't want that, and I'm not open to that. I can remember a time when I didn't want to live anywhere but in Ireland, because it was a comfort zone. I was with my family and my parents, and it was kind of nice and comfortable. But of course, it was all based on fear of getting outside of my comfort zone. And I had to change my filter, and when I did, a whole new world opened up for me. And with it, the experience of a whole new me. I had someone say to me once, "You're just blossoming." Well, if you'd been in Ireland, you'd have been pretty. I was planted out in the light, and I started to blossom. When things happen in our lives, the best approach to them is to say, well, the universe seems to want me to experience this, so maybe I should open up to it. It isn't what I would have chosen, necessarily, and I don't quite understand why, but rather than rejecting it, let's explore it together. I wonder why I'm having this experience. Now, I'm not saying we should have a fatalistic approach to life, like, I've fallen down, so I guess I must just stay here. That's not what I'm saying. No, but since I have fallen down, I wonder how that happened. I wonder why. What contributed to that? And while I'm down here, let's take a look at the view from down here. Oh, the sky looks really nice up there. Stars. What can I learn from my experience? What is my experience trying to teach me? Let's not deny I fell down and jump right back up and run away from the spot, which we can tend to do. Welcoming everything is calling us out of the right, wrong, good, bad perspective, out of dualistic judgment of everything, to a non-dual approach to life and death. If we see death as good, then we can have a good experience. We can explore it. This is my unique experience of death as the divine. If we label it bad or evil, then it will be that for us. And it won't be a divine experience. It'll be fearful and dreadful. And this is pretty clear in relation to dying, but we don't see that necessarily in relation to life and living. If we label something as bad or evil, then our experience is going to be in that box. The mind predetermines the experience that we're going to have. The third axiom is bring your whole self to the experience. Don't do things by half measure. Put your whole heart and soul into whatever it is you're doing. It's far more exhausting, I've learned, to try to do something by half measures, by having a sort of protective approach to your energy, than it is to just give 100%. Sometimes we try to reserve energy for down the road, and so we miss out on the fullness of what's possible again right now. It's like a runner preserving his energy in the semifinal so that he can win the final, and then he gets pipped at the post in the semifinal and doesn't make it to the final. that's sometimes what happens to us in life. Bring all of yourself to the table, to the relationship, to the business partnership, to the parenting, to the spiritual journey, to the spiritual community. Be here now fully, giving yourself to all of these people around you as a spiritual community by being compassionate, caring, kind, loving. And we know that when we give of ourselves like that fully, we're a lot happier. People are attracted to us. They want to be like us. And we feel more complete and more whole. Because you see, that brings up the next question. What is the whole self that I'm avoiding? It takes us right into the divine self, not just the small self. And so we have a much bigger, happier experience because of that. And the fourth axiom is to find a place of rest in the middle of things. In the middle of dying, there really isn't any other place to go. In living, we tend to have the luxury of finding escapes rather than staying present and finding the place of peace and grace right here, where we are. It's a denial of what is right inside us, no matter what the circumstances that we are in. The place of rest can be right in the middle of that. If we have the ability to, again, quiet the mind, stop its judgments, we don't need to go anywhere else to find a better state of consciousness or peace. It is in the middle of us and within us. It's not an external thing, it's an internal thing. So wherever we are, there you are. And if you're at peace, then there's peace in the midst of tribulation. And so when things are really challenging, take a breath, find or take a pause from the thought, from the emotion, from the experience. Be silent for a moment. Do a meditation. Just come to the center and then open up to what's really there. This stream of energy, maybe even joy. I have seen people in the dying process with incredible joy and appreciation for life. The fifth axiom is cultivate don't know mind. In Buddhism, don't know mind is like the beginner's mind. You just go in with an openness. Not knowing is most intimate. Why is that? Why is not knowing intimate? Well, our minds have told us that we must know it all. Don't go outside your front door unless you know. Pretend to know. That will get you through life. Fake it till you make it. When you think about it, every change in life, when it's a step up to a new level of a job or existence, going from one level to a higher level, is all about not knowing and not understanding and having to make a leap of faith to a certain extent, but at least you have to take a step out in trust. Understanding is just a fake ID that our egos use to get through life. Oh yes, I'm knowledgeable. I understand. I've got my reverend card. I've got all the answers. Right. Don't know mind is a portal into intimacy because that is where we can be on common ground with others. And that's especially clear in the dying process. You know, with the hospice patient and the hospice staff coming together on that common ground of not knowing. We don't know necessarily what the process is going to look like exactly. can't tell you when or how exactly you're going to die, or how difficult or easy it's going to be. And so it allows for an openness to whatever unfolds, a surprise even. Some people are discharged from hospice and go on to live for many years. Others, who staff think will be around for 6 months or a year, die over the weekend. Why? Who knows? The mind, knowledge, understanding, etc., can be a barrier to full intimacy, to just being together in the moment, where we can just meet now in the presence of each other. My expertise, my knowledge, my understanding, all that does is put me in a one-up situation that I can hide behind my title, or my education, or my background. Yeah, I'm in charge of this situation, just so that I can feel more comfortable. Life becomes far more interesting, and our experiences are not so prescribed when we come with an open heart to meet others just as they are. So cultivating don't know mind seems very appropriate for how we approach what comes next in this life and after this life. Yeah, we can speculate all we want, and we can have strongly held beliefs about the afterlife. But what if we simply had a don't know mind and simply trusted that it will be a great experience? It will be all this and more. It will be the fulfillment of all of this, of our hopes and dreams and desires. It will be a progression of who we are and what we are right now. And just as our attitudes today create our tomorrow, why not have an open attitude toward our eternal selves rather than limiting our expectations or even arguing with other people about those expectations, which are only based on what we know right now? Heaven, nirvana, is a state of being and consciousness that is only experienced when we have blown past our little minds. That's why we use the expression, it blew my mind. When we have enlightening experiences, it blows our human minds. And then we are able to come into unity with the one great mind of consciousness. In the meantime, we can be of great service here on this planet, to ourselves, to others, to the 5 billion people on the planet, by practicing these 5 invitations. I want to close with a piece written by Maya Angelou. It's called I've Learned. I've learned that no matter what happens or how bad it seems today, life goes on, and it will be better tomorrow. I've learned that you can tell a lot about a person by the way that he or she handles 3 things: a rainy day, lost luggage, and tangled Christmas lights. I think today she might write like, when you can't get on your iPhone, when you can't get the Wi-Fi to work. I've learned that regardless of your relationship with your parents, you'll miss them when they're gone from your life. I've learned that making a living is not the same thing as making a life. I've learned that life sometimes gives you a second chance. And I've learned that you shouldn't go through life with a catcher's mitt on both hands. You need to be able to throw something back. I've learned that whenever I decide something with an open heart, I usually make the right decisions. I've learned that even when I have pains, I don't have to be one. I've learned that every day you should reach out and touch someone. People love a warm hug or just a friendly pat on the back. I've learned that I still have a lot to learn. I've learned that people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. So again, my invitation to us this morning is to take these 5 invitations and to really enter into life. And in doing so, we enter into the process of how we evolve, dying, living, rising. We become familiar with it, and good friends with it. So let us take these thoughts into a time of meditation. So once again, I invite us to just go inward. To feel that stream of life that is continually sourcing our existence. And let us dive right in, fully, intimately. And simply be with and explore this divine presence in the sound.